What does Thanksgiving dinner teach us about how we're supposed to eat? I always love this time of year because I use this analogy all year round, and finally it makes sense to people. So it teaches us four things. The first thing it teaches us, Thanksgiving dinner, is that we have to break our state. All right, stop and think about Thanksgiving Day, right? We're cooking turkey. We're making sides. There are people in the living room watching football. You might even be out running around playing football. There's kids running around maybe in your house. There's a lot of chaos going on when it comes to preparing Thanksgiving Day meal. And then what happens? Meal gets set on the table. Everybody stops. They come together. Grace is said in some households. Maybe you're holding hands and taking a break there. Maybe somebody's getting up to give a toast, and we're all eyes on that person and really listening to their thoughtful words. We are just, sitting and taking a break. So if you've watched my videos, it means that usually we're in this sympathetic fight or flight nervous system mode, right? And we don't want to eat that way. It tightens the gut because the body thinks we're running away from an animal or some sort of major stressor that happened on the savannah a million years ago. The genes haven't changed. If we're in fight or flight, chaos, sort of nervous system mode, we're not going to be in parasympathetic, rest and digest mode. So when we break our state, whether that's at Thanksgiving dinner or day to day when you sit down to lunch, you need to be in that rest and digest mode. All the stopping, taking a couple breaths, pausing, being grateful, that enables us to break our state and change from fight or flight to rest and digest. So the number two thing is, I mentioned Thanksgiving dinner was sitting on the table. It is a sensory experience. That's number two. We're sitting there staring at this beautiful bounty on the table while Uncle Bob is giving the toast, right? It's all sitting there. So what's happening to us while we're sitting there? Well, we are focused on Uncle Bob's toast, but we're smelling the turkey. We're looking at the turkey. We're seeing the cranberry sauce jiggle. We're looking at the sweet potatoes. All these things are happening while we're sitting there taking our break of state, right? Now, we're in this rest and digest mode, and now it's a sensory experience. We have the sights, the sounds, the smells, and we have to wait for it before we can eat. So our saliva glands are activating. Our stomach is telling us, yes, we want this. So it is a sensory experience. So number one, we're breaking our state. We're moving from fight or flight to rest and digest where we need to be. Number two, we are whatever I said. We're making the meal a sensory experience, no matter where we are. You could be in a restaurant. The third thing that we get is a meal that is an anti-inflammatory meal. Well, it's probably not anti-inflammatory in the style of putting marshmallows all over your yams or having crazy, amazing tasting cornbread stuffing or having lots and lots of dinner rolls, right? Well, there's lots of different styles of Thanksgiving, and most of them kind of tend to the junk food and sugar, and it tastes so good, right? But at its core, Thanksgiving is protein. Think about it. It's turkey or a tofurkey, whatever you're into, a starch or a vegetable. Starch being things like stuffing, right? Being things like sweet potatoes, as we've mentioned, squash. These are starchy vegetables, complex carbohydrates. We have a protein, we have a starch, and usually there's some sort of vegetables, right? Even the crazy mushroom soup green beans is still a vegetable. And that's a really good clue of how to organize yourself on a day-to-day basis when you're making your own food. A protein, a starch, and a veggie. And as I've said on other videos, if you're going to a restaurant, this is the way they organize themselves. And that leads us to the fourth thing, how we feel after Thanksgiving. Now, there is an amino acid in turkey called tryptophan, and when you have too much, you will fall asleep. Tryptophan makes serotonin. Serotonin makes melatonin. You can look the pathway up online, and melatonin makes us sleep. But tryptophan, all that tryptophan in turkey gets us on a sleep highway pretty quickly, especially after a long, busy day, right? But it really, aside from the sleep benefits of Thanksgiving Day, what we really want to avoid is that full feeling, right? We eat too much. Well, we're able to override our stop signal when it comes to eating, and this happens every Thanksgiving Day. And then what happens? We're back on the couch going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I ate all that food, and we're not feeling too well, sometimes up to 12, 24 hours afterwards. Portion control would be number 4, right? We only want a certain amount of food Otherwise, we're going to feel really crummy and we're not going to extract the maximum amount of energy at that time. The body is just like, hey, this is too much, shut it down. And then we understand why the Spanish have a siesta, right? So the 4 things: you want to break your state when you sit down to eat. You want to have your meal be a sensory experience, no matter how small. Take a deep breath, that's easy. Smell your food, that's easy. And number 3, protein, starch, veggie if you're doing meal prep. And 4, don't eat too much. Keep your portion sizes reasonable. You can even break those into multiple parts throughout the day. If you want more tips like this, you can go over to my website. It's drdanwool.com. Lots of articles on there about gut health, men's health, hormones. And until next time, it's Dr. Wolf. Fix your gut, solve your health.